Delphi, a small, quiet town in the state of Indiana, United States. With just a few thousand residents, it's the kind of place where everyone knows each other. Streets are calm, life moves slowly, and people feel safe. In places like this, you would never expect horrific crimes, let alone chilling murders. But on a cold February day in 2017, Delphi's fate changed forever. 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German, two best friends, innocent, full of life, standing at the very beginning of their journeys. That afternoon, they set out for a walk, to take pictures, to talk, to enjoy a simple day together. But that walk led them to a terrifying end. What happened that day didn't just shake Delphi, it shocked the entire world. Because this case holds a mystery that still remains unsolved. Who was the man on the bridge? Who was the voice captured on Libby's phone? And more importantly, is the person who ended the lives of these two innocent girls still among us today? To understand the Delphi murders, we must first understand Abby and Libby, because they were not just names in a tragic headline. They were two young girls with dreams, hopes, and unique personalities. Abigail Abby Williams, just 13 years old. She loved art, enjoyed painting, and had a creative spirit. Her friends described her as cheerful, warm, and full of life. Abby sang in the school choir, participated in social activities, and had big dreams for her future. In her eyes, life was full of opportunities waiting to be discovered. Liberty Libby German, 14 years old, was sporty, energetic, and outgoing. She played on the school basketball team and was very tech-savvy. She loved capturing memories with her phone. In fact, the phone she carried on the day of the murder would later provide the single most crucial piece of evidence in this entire case. Abby and Libby weren't just friends. They were like sisters. They spent almost all their time together, sharing photos, secrets, and laughter. In a town like Delphi, safety was taken for granted. Kids could wander freely, explore the woods, climb the bridge, and no one thought twice about it. But February 13th, 2017 was different. It was the day before Valentine's Day and school was out. Abby and Libby decided to take advantage of the nice weather and go for a walk. Their destination? The Monon High Bridge trail. The bridge was iconic in Delphi, an abandoned railroad bridge high above the creek covered with old wooden planks. For kids and teens, it was both dangerous and thrilling, and a perfect place to take photos. That was Libby's plan, to capture a few pictures and videos to share later. That afternoon, with their family's permission, they left the house. They carried only their phones. After 1 p.m., they were seen on the trail. During their walk, they took pictures of each other. One of those photos, captured on Libby's phone, showed Abby walking across the bridge. That image would later become infamous. It was the last known photo of Abby alive. By evening, the girls were supposed to return home, but time passed and they didn't show up. At first, their families weren't alarmed. Delphi was safe after all. Kids disappearing for a few hours wasn't entirely unusual. But as the sun went down, concern turned into panic. The girls weren't answering their phones. Something was wrong. And this was the moment when Delphi's nightmare truly began. February 13th, 2017. Evening was falling, the sky grew darker, and Abby and Libby still hadn't returned home. In a small town like Delphi, this was unusual. At first, their families thought perhaps the girls had stopped by a friend's house. Maybe their phones had run out of battery. But as the hours passed, worry turned into fear. Libby's grandmother eventually contacted the authorities. The girls' plan was known. They had gone to the Monon High Bridge trail. Police, unaccustomed to major crimes in this quiet town, initially treated it as a routine missing persons case. After all, how far could two young teens go in Delphi? Very quickly, the search began. Volunteers, townsfolk, and police officers joined forces. Flashlights cut through the darkness as searchers combed through the woods. The bridge and its surroundings were scanned. Abby and Libby's names echoed through the trees, but the night yielded no answers. As the night deepened, the cold and silence became unbearable. For the families, every passing minute was agony. When daylight returned, the search expanded. More volunteers arrived, more ground was covered, and the area near the bridge was examined again and again. Then on the morning of February 14th, 2017, the town's worst fears came true. Abby and Libby were found dead in a wooded area not far from the bridge, near the water's edge. In that moment, Delphi lost its innocence forever. What began as a missing persons case had now turned into a horrifying double murder. On the morning of February 14th, when Abby and Libby's bodies were found, Delphi was shattered. But soon, investigators discovered this was no ordinary case of missing children turned tragedy. Because Libby, with the phone she carried that day, had left behind one of the most chilling pieces of evidence in true crime history. While examining her phone, police uncovered a series of photos and short video clips. The first images showed Abby walking across the bridge. Innocent, ordinary moments. But the next recording was something entirely different. Libby had secretly filmed a man approaching them on the bridge. The footage lasted only a few seconds. He wore jeans, a blue jacket, and a cap. His hands were in his pockets, and he walked with slow, steady steps across the wooden planks. And then came the most chilling detail. Libby hadn't just captured video, she had captured his voice. On the short audio clip, the man can be heard saying, "Down the hill," just 3 words. But the tone was cold, commanding, almost threatening.
Path. We go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here. Hi.
It sounded like he was directing the 2 girls, forcing them to move. Police quickly released this evidence to the public. A blurry still image of the man from the video was shared with the media. That image would become unforgettable. The figure of a man walking across the bridge. His head tilted, his face indistinct. The internet gave him a name, Bridge Guy. The audio was also released. Those 3 words, delivered in a monotone yet menacing voice, became the haunting signature of the Delphi murders. In Delphi, everyone asked the same question. Who was this man? Was he a local or a stranger passing through? Perhaps the most vital clue in this entire case existed only because of Libby's courage. Maybe she sensed something was wrong. Maybe she knew they were in danger. So she opened her phone, pressed record, and captured the face and voice of the man who would end their lives. That act of bravery still stands as the single most important piece of evidence in the Delphi case. The image and audio captured on Libby's phone were the most crucial pieces of evidence in the Delphi murders. But they weren't enough. The footage was blurry, the face indistinguishable. All investigators could see was a man's gait, his clothing, his silhouette. From this, police created the first sketch of the suspect. It showed a middle-aged man wearing a cap with short facial hair. This image was released to the public and quickly spread across national media. But in 2019, 2 years after the murders, police released a second sketch. This time, the suspect looked much younger, perhaps in his 20s. The difference between the 2 drawings was striking. Confusion grew. Which one was correct? Why had the authorities released 2 such drastically different images? Then in 2022, a breakthrough. Richard Allen, a 50-year-old Delphi resident, was arrested. Allen was an ordinary man, a local pharmacy worker. His name had never been publicly tied to the case before. Authorities cited witness testimony and the presence of his vehicle near the trail as part of the evidence. But the trial is still ongoing. Allen maintains his innocence. The number of suspects has been high, but the certainty of the evidence remains low. And that's exactly what makes the Delphi murders one of the most confounding mysteries of our time. The Delphi murders were not confined to local police work. People from around the world, especially internet users, became obsessed with solving the case. YouTube channels, Reddit threads, Facebook groups. Tens of thousands of people dissected Libby's recording over and over again. They analyzed the suspect's voice, his accent, the way he walked, the way he kept his hands in his pockets. Some were convinced he was a local. Others argued he was an outsider who had stumbled upon Delphi by chance. The theories grew wild. Some claimed there were actually two suspects, one seen in the video, another whose voice was recorded. Others suggested the killer was from Delphi, but had disguised himself, maybe by growing facial hair or changing his clothes after the crime. Rumors spread within the town itself. Which neighbor had been acting strangely? Who had disappeared around the time of the murders? Who had made suspicious social media posts? These whispers often led to false accusations against innocent people. In many ways, the Delphi murders became a true crime case of the digital age. The scarcity of evidence fueled imagination. Everyone became their own detective, but the truth remained elusive. Amidst all the theories, only one certainty existed. Abby and Libby's lives had been stolen in a brutal act. Whoever the killer was, he left behind not just two victims, but an entire community haunted by their memory. By 2022, the Delphi murders remained unsolved. 5 years had passed and the town was weary. But in October 2022, a shocking development shook Delphi. Police arrested Richard Allen, a 50-year-old man. Allen was an ordinary local. He worked at the town's pharmacy, lived quietly with his family. No one had suspected him, which made the arrest even more shocking. Authorities claimed Allen had been in the area on the day of the murders. Witnesses reported seeing him near the bridge. His car had also been parked nearby. Even more disturbing, investigators allegedly found evidence during a search of his home. While the exact details have not been made public, prosecutors insisted it tied him directly to the crime. In court, Richard Allen pleaded not guilty. His defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial and weak. The trial faced multiple delays, sparking fierce debate among the public. Whether Allen is truly the killer remains uncertain, but his arrest reignited the world's attention on the Delphi case. The Delphi murders were not just a terrifying mystery, they were a family tragedy. Abby and Libby's families never gave up on seeking justice. They refused to let their daughters be forgotten. The media kept the story alive. National TV programs, podcasts, documentaries. The Delphi murders became one of America's most widely discussed unsolved cases. But media attention was not always positive. Some outlets focused on the wrong suspects, dragging innocent people into the spotlight. This added to the pain of the families. Still, Abby and Libby's loved ones said they felt the community's support. Online communities worked tirelessly to keep the case alive. Thanks to those efforts, the Delphi murders were never forgotten. Abby and Libby's story became not only a tragedy, but also a symbol of perseverance in the fight for justice. Today, many questions remain unanswered in the Delphi murders. Richard Allen's trial is still ongoing. If he is found guilty, perhaps the case will finally close. But if he is innocent, then the real killer still walks free. That possibility has haunted Delphi for years. The shadowy figure on the bridge, the chilling voice saying, "Down the hill," their true identity remains unclear. Even now, the case continues to spark debate. Documentaries are released, podcasts publish new episodes, online forums remain alive with speculation. The Delphi murders have already secured their place in history as one of the most perplexing true crime mysteries of the modern era. The Delphi murders were not just about the loss of two young lives. They changed the destiny of an entire town forever. Abby and Libby were full of dreams, full of life, when it was all stolen from them. Their bravery, especially Libby's decision to hit record on her phone, left behind a beacon for others. That courage kept the investigation alive and ensured they would never be forgotten. Today, anyone who looks at that bridge remembers the image, the blurry silhouette walking across the planks, and those words, "Down the hill." But they also remember Abby and Libby's laughter. Though they are gone, their story lives on in the hearts of millions. The Delphi murders are not just a crime story, they are a test of justice, courage, and memory. Whoever the killer may be, Abby and Libby will never be forgotten.